the movie, The Hate U Give, it's a very complicated story. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's also a coming-of-age story that's marred by a tragic event when the lead character, Star Carter, witnesses something tragic that happens to a friend of hers at the hands of the police.
So when you're ready to talk, you talk. Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet.
You know, we're all aware of all the things that have been happening in this country with police brutality. So how important, kind of is a movie like this that shows the complicated dynamics of the relationship between people of color and the police, and just even when you see something wrong and your ability to speak out, how that can be hindered by the circumstances around you?
I think when you see this film in some way, shape, or form, you can relate. And I think when you're able to relate to something, that sparks discussion and change.
Understanding.
And I know for me, when I'm going through the news and I'm seeing, young African Americans dying, I see my nephews. Like when I think of names, Trayvon Martin, I see my nephew, and I think when you have a film like this, it creates discussions. It creates discussions like this, and that's important because, we know what the cause is and we know what we're all fighting for, which is equality, but how do we get there? And I think it's through films like this that are allowing people the courage to speak up and to know what is right and what is wrong.
The number one thing about this film that really inspired me was the name, The Hate U Give. Have you thought about the hate you give? What is the energy that you're giving out in this world? And that comes to our platforms. The hate you give the world, the energy you give to the world ends up becoming our world. So I think just manifesting that hate and changing that into power and productivity and just, light, right? I mean, for generations and centuries, there's been a lot of deeply rooted hate. And this film makes it a little bit more relatable for people to understand why. To me, that's a good learning lesson.
It actually reminds me, she was a witness to a murder in the film. And it reminds me of a story that recently just happened in Baltimore, where I'm from. A young girl witnessed a double homicide, and she played basketball, 22 years old. And those guys got out of jail. She was gonna be a witness and do the right thing and testify, and they shot her up. And just to compare it to the movie, she was a witness to a murder, so you gotta look at that side too. What do you do in those situations? We don't think like, you know what I mean? Do I wanna, hide somewhere, save my life? We need a movie like this. We need to talk about these issues.
I think that's the part that's most impressive about this, is being able to tell a story that has so much baggage in a way that I think we can all just relate and kind of empathize with. But, what also is kind of striking about it is the young lady in particular. She may not have had a traditional platform, like we all have traditional platforms, but nevertheless, she chose to use it in a way that was meaningful. I mean, what made you guys kind of decide that you wanted your platform to stand for something? What internally compelled you to say, you know what, I'm Candace Parker and I'm gonna do this?
I think you have that voice inside of you that tells you what's right and what's wrong, that you know the time. I think all of us, from the first time we started playing sports, whatever age, if it was kickball outside, you faced inequalities. Whether it be the little, like you're a girl or you get picked last or anything like that. But I think when I really faced it was when I was pregnant with my daughter. It was people that were shaming me for having a child. Like, at this point in your career, like, what? Where, and it's part of being a woman, and I don't think it's anything that you should ever have to justify or be ashamed of. And so I think for me, that was the first time where I was like, wait a minute, like men don't have to face this in their careers in basketball when they can have a family and play.
And I totally relate because, I haven't had a kid yet.
I
was like, no, I haven't had a kid yet, but just when you feel like you're finding yourself as a basketball player, you understand as well. My injury really humbled me. And a lot of times as athletes, we feel like our worth is in our statistics, our achievements, but our worth is so much more, and I think that's because we are women, because we're capable of doing more than one thing at one time. And in the WNBA, so many of us, we have our degrees and we have platforms and we're capable. So when I was injured, it gave me enough separation and distance to realize I am more than an athlete. I'm still a human being that has a platform and a voice.
I think for me, growing up in Baltimore, I was the only girl out there, 8 years old, playing with all the guys. So I'm automatically considered a tomboy because a group of girls don't want to play basketball outside. And that's what I dealt with. I remember I beat a boy, I was about 10 years old, beat him 1-on-1, and his words to me were, "This is a man's sport anyway." I just want to play basketball. Why does it have to be about gender?
So how did you all not like internalize the criticism? Like, raise your hand if you've been told to go back to the kitchen. Right?
Scroll through comments.
Media, go on Twitter.
But you know what? It'd be the guys
That can't play.
that are sending these messages
Thank
from their
you.
mom's basement for like eating a bowl of cereal in their socks.
So what is it?
So
An ego?
it's-
What is it? Is it an ego thing? Is it that because a woman can play a sport, she seems stronger? Like what
Like
is
we
it?
beat them in junior high when we were playing co-ed, like something really internalized with them, but it's because it's socially acceptable for people to not only degrade women, but especially like if you look at the WNBA, because we're WNBA players, we're the melting pot of a lot of things that are marginalized. Women of color, and we use our voices and we've never been, afraid to be authentic to ourselves. And I think that's a threat. So people are so comfortable talking about something that they don't know or have yet ignored. But I think we're getting more and more comfortable to talk back, right?
It's hard not to notice the fact that your league seems very comfortable speaking out on issues of equality, social justice, all of those. I remind people constantly, it was the Minnesota Lynx. They were the ones that started with the T-shirts after what happened with Philando Castile. It is always this moment where you have to decide, is this gonna be my fight? So what was your moment for when you decided, hey, I can't just be silent? I mean, I know what my moment was, President knows about that,
I watched it.
Yeah,
And I was very proud of that moment.
Our league is fighting for respect. And we constantly are searching to get fans and to make sure people understand our game is as great as we know it to be, since we're the game. But the biggest splash we had, in the media was when we took a stand or, wore the Black Lives Matter shirts. And the thing is, not everyone agreed. Not everyone understood, but everyone realized that we all have a voice, and as women, we have a platform, and if we can show people that that platform is powerful, then overall, and that we're united, overall, that's the best message we can have. And we always say, we don't play basketball because we want it for the money. We all know that's not the case.
That's not the case.
It's the platform, it's the community engagement, the involvement we have, and just inspiring generations. That's why we play. So it's not unusual for us to take a stand. So when we did that, it was only right that that was the message that everyone heard.
But you got inspiration from people like her. From you.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm being honest. I feel like we all talk about inspiring the next generation, but you can be inspired by your peers and you can inspire your peers as well.
Absolutely.
And it's
I'm just
contagious.
telling you, it is contagious with what you have done with your voice and what you have brought and the attention.
Well, the thing, you're in a tricky spot when you're a journalist because our role is to sit on the sidelines and document. We're supposed to be the stenographers of history, chronicle what we see and put it into context. And making the conscious decision to kind of leave what was considered to be the traditional behavior of a journalist and say, hold up, I know I'm a journalist, but I'm also a Black woman in this country. So I feel like I have just as much of a right to be appalled and to be outraged by some of the things that were happening.
But here's the thing, I know that we care, but I want to piggyback on what you said. How do we get more people in the stands? You know what I mean? What do we need to do to get people to care about our league? For example, the #1 fan base for football, NFL, is women.
Yeah.
Women are going to watch football,
Yeah.
but why can't we get these women to come to a WNBA game?
People don't know this, is that a lot of times when you break down the statistics, it's actually a lot of men that do support your game.
Yes.
There is a disconnect about women supporting other women. Now, if you want to broaden that out, that is a problem, period.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
But
It's
I
not
think
just about
times are
basketball.
changing. Times are changing. If you look at the support that women are having in this age, this coming, U.S. women's national team, they fought for better pay, and they accomplished that. U.S. women's hockey, they fought for better pay, and then what did? They went and got a gold medal. U.S. women's gymnastics just took down a sexual abuser in a glorious fashion, it was just legendary, you know, their fearlessness, their courage, and I think, like I say, that makes us not afraid to approach, you know, we have a CBA in which we are trying to fight for better pay and better situations for our peers, and then also the next level of WNBA talent coming in. So I think this age is not just for one woman or one type of person, it's courage for us all. And that's why I'm really excited and proud about, you know, what the future holds, because we're no longer afraid. You know, we're not afraid to use our voice. We're not afraid to go march in the streets. We're not afraid to, hey, say, I'm not gonna buy this product because it supports this X, Y, and Z, you know? Women collectively are understanding their power. And I think that's gonna be really beneficial for us, because we're looking at women's, you know, hockey, we're looking at the national team in soccer, we're looking at gymnasts and saying, if they can do that, we can do that.
I think being a female athlete is just so much more accepted. It's the norm. You know, it almost feels like the norm. Like, oh, you don't play sports? And I think because we have come through a strong age of celebrating, supporting, and amplifying female athletes, that has had an amazing trickle-down effect on the other generation. When you look at the participation in sports, now, is it perfect? No, there's a lot of inequalities. You know, you guys know about that. But just comparing of how things were when I started playing at like 6 or 7 years old versus now, it's just been a dramatic swing, I think, for girls and for female athletes.
We're at a point in time where we have the older generations, girls can't play basketball. Then we have the middle generations, can they play basketball?
Okay, yeah.
Then we have the generation that's coming up that's like, girls play basketball. And I think that that's where we're at right now, where my daughter is never gonna have to go on a kickball field and be like, you can't play kickball because you're a girl. She's not gonna have to experience that. And it's because of the Mia Hamms, it's because of the Serena Williams, it's because of all the sports athletes, female, that have come before us. And it's because of now our counterparts support that.
For so long, I feel like, you know, if we had a table full of women like us, right? For so long, we'd be competitive with each other. That's changed. You've helped me a lot with my career. ESPN, you've helped me a lot with my career. WNBA, we are not competitive with each other anymore. We are collaborative as women. And I think that's where our power is, right? So that's why I'm so hopeful. I'm excited because we are relying on each other and we're not doing it by ourselves. What's the phrase? If you wanna go fast, go by yourself. If you wanna go far, go together, right? We all wanna win, but our best chances at winning is winning together and fighting for things that we believe in and leaving the world, you know, a better place than where, you know, for our youngers, you know, for your daughter, for my sisters. I mean, even though we get weighted and feel down by everything that's happening, you watch the news, it's hard to watch. You read the news, it's hard to read. We really have an opportunity here to help each other, to focus on love. The hate you give, you know, it's powerful, but it's all about love and how we can help each other in the end.